Hey, everybody, and welcome to another installment, another edition of Work Your Career Wednesday. Boys, I am Clark, and I'm going to tell you, we are so blessed, honored, and just thankful and grateful that you decided to tune in and join us today. I got to tell you, we have an incredible show today. If you have any inclination toward crypto and particularly finance, obviously, and your future in it, we have an amazing guest. But before I get to that, got to talk about White Husky Films. If you are in need of anything and everything pertaining to video, podcasts, or just about anything, get a hold of Steven Saldana. His phone number is on the screen, or you can always go to www.whitehuskyfilms. We're soon going to have a website, but go to whitehuskyfilms.com. Dream, create, record in that order. And when you choose White Husky, you will be so glad you did. And later on in the show, we'll be talking about our newest sponsor, if you can believe it. So excited. Talk about Jane's Physical Therapy. Oh my gosh, just stay tuned for that. We're going to get to that in a moment. But without further ado, let's get to the show. My guest today is now I have to, his credits are pretty long. So if you guys know me, I have to, sometimes I got to read this stuff. Nathan Poole. Nathan is a veteran business owner and entrepreneur in the finance, construction, and real estate fields. He's built and scaled numerous successful businesses, is an active land developer in both commercial and residential areas and arenas. Nathan is a Florida State certified general contractor and real estate broker. He is also he also holds his loan originator's license. I mean, that's pretty cool. He has bachelor's in practical theology and business from Southeastern University and a master's in nonprofit management from UCF. If you want to learn more, you got to go to he's a crypto miner. So you got to go to his site, minimines.com. We're going to have his website in the body of the description. But without further ado, please make welcome my friend. And I'm going to tell you, he is going to give you a masterclass today. So stay all ears, Nathan Poole. Nathan, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, great to be here. Thanks for having me on the show. I'm super excited to talk about something I'm passionate about today, and so I just appreciate your time so much.
Well, we appreciate you, and I got to tell you, since we've been talking, we've gotten to know each other. I got to tell you, you are, you were in the ministry for a while.
Yeah. Years,
now,
a whole life.
And you're a preacher's kid.
Yeah,
just like me. but one of those, and I bring that up because there's a significance to where your heart is, right? Like you have, and I want to get into your story because what I really want to dig into, sort of how you came to where you are. But your story is absolutely incredible. But unlike, there's a lot of folks that come to the realizations that you have through a lot of experience. And I think, it's the same with you, of course. But also, from talking to you, there's a much, what was that commercial years ago? Like, we answer to a higher calling. I don't know if you remember that commercial, but it was something, I forget what the product was, but I remember that. We answer to a higher calling. And I'm just so excited for you to be able to come on and share your experience and give our audience some much needed, because if they're like me, don't know a lot about crypto, much needed finance advice and sort of where we're headed and where we're going. But let's get into your story first. Just tell us about you.
Yeah, so I'm an entrepreneur through and through, right? Like I don't, I guess I shouldn't say I don't remember a time where I was an entrepreneur, but I've been a full-time entrepreneur for the last 7 or 8 years. And before then, I mean, it was always the side hustle, right? The side hustle culture, all the way back to literally elementary school. Had to have the shop running outside the house and trying to sell to the neighborhood kids, right? So it's just been in my blood, and I love it. It was the same thing that my family was involved in. Even my dad had he was in the public school system and also was a contractor. And I say contractor on the side, but he was, I think his busiest year, he's building 10 homes, right? He's built 100 or 200 homes in the Poole County area, and so it was all during a side hustle, right? So it's like I saw that growing up, and I got the work ethic from that, and so I mean we've started a handful of businesses, everything from the mortgage world to the real estate world, and at one point we had a pawn shop. I mean, you name it, we've done some wild stuff, or a small engine repair shop. I mean, we've done some wildness, right? And so it's always been fun.
You guys had a pawn shop?
Yeah. It was the most unconventional pawn shop you've ever seen. Ran out of the backyard of a residential home on Craigslist. But our revenues were such that I was making more money doing that than I was teaching. And so my side hustle, I realized, I was like, I think I should do this full time, right? Like this is the thing. And it was, silly stuff like lawn mowers and lawn equipment, but we'd buy them and fix them and sell them. And so it was a value add service, right? It wasn't just, hey, here's your gouge price,
Well,
but it was value add.
Did you guys get some like historical stuff? Like documents from George Washington or something like that?
Yeah, we did a lot of that. We would put on all our ads, cash only, unless you have something that is exciting or interesting to trade, but specifically gold, silver, guns, ammo, and anything with an engine. And so we treated all those as currency. And we got, I mean, I forget the PCGS graded or whatever it is, the PGC graded stuff and cards and rookie cards, and we got drones and just the electronic remote control, which is wild stuff. This was over a decade ago.
I tell you what, I got I have a baseball card, football card, basketball card collection, got lots of Jordans, so we'll talk offline.
There you go.
But that's incredible. I think anybody that knows preachers' kids and preachers in and of themselves, they, like my dad was a car guy, so his side hustle, which I think it ran a very close second to the ministry. Like, he loved the ministry. We had a tour business, we're traveling all the time. But I tell you what, when it came to cars, that man, insane. I mean, that guy, he loved the car business. Like, seriously. Cool. So anybody that's a preacher's kid or been in the ministry knows all about that side hustle. So really you get it honestly, really being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, it's it does start out as, I think, when you're a kid, of course, it's a side hustle mentality. And then, I think at some point it transitions into the more sophisticated sounding multiple streams of income, right? It sounds more, when you're 12 years old, it's a side hustle. And when you're 18, it's a side hustle. And then at some point it becomes multiple streams of income. And I don't know where that transition happens, but it happens for us. It happened pretty naturally, where we just had a handful of businesses and did what we could to sustain them all and hire people to help run them.
So when you're talking about, like, finance, what is it that sort of drew you to that?
Well, it started out as US dollar ROI, right? So when we first started getting companies that were big enough that we read a book, man, the name of the book is escaping me, but it talks about Warren. I think it was Warren Buffett wrote at least an essay in this book, and it talked about that a great CEO does two primary functions. One is lead the direction of the company to make money, and two is then to take the capital that the capital or money that the company is making and deploy that effectively. So we started looking at, hey, we make money, and then how do we make money off of our money? And so as we were growing, right, our general contracting business was growing big time, and we started deploying into real estate endeavors and working, with CPAs and how do we structure tax, advantages here and there. And we had really great years and really terrible years. We had incredible years that, we look back on and say, wow, that was really great. And then we had really, really terrible years too, lost a ton of money on some of them. And we say, well, you know what, those weren't so great of years. But through all of it, like just really figuring out how do we be good stewards with what we've got. That was the big thing, right? Like there was a parable where Jesus says, he tells a parable of the talents, right? Hey, I'm going to give this guy, depending on which, book you're reading, I'll give that guy 2 talents and this guy 1 talent and this guy 5 talents. And the guy with the 5 made 10. The guy with the 2 made 4 and the guy with 1 buried it. And the master goes to the guy who buried it and says, at least you could have done is given it to a banker and gotten me interest, right? And so it was like this idea, and I get it's about more than money, right? It's about your opportunities. Yeah. It's about the giftings that he's given you, the things you can do. But there's also a pragmatic level there, right? Like we looked at an inflationary environment and said money is worth way less now than it was, and even as a few years back, and money is just inflating away to nothing. This invisible tax, we've got to deploy it, and so we tried a bunch of different things. We bought land and subparcel of land, and we, wholesaled and flipped land, and we built new construction, commercial, new construction, residential. So, spec homes and that sort of thing. And we ended up landing on crypto. And so the piece that I am actively engaged in as my full-time job that I work nonstop on, out of passion, right, is the mini mines piece. It's crypto mining.
It's incredible. I must admit, when I talk to folks like you, I feel like a bit of a dinosaur, Don't.
It's a learning curve.
I'm definitely learning, and I'm learning from you, really. And so, I think we're in a point in time, just like you said, money in and of themselves. I can't imagine there being a time where we're not talking about a dollar. Like if a country doesn't have a currency, it's not a country, right? At the same time, we need to be prepared for things. I'm curious what was it about crypto? And you may have already answered this, but I just want to get a clearer perspective. What was it about crypto besides everything that we're seeing? Crypto in particular, what was it about that said, you know what, I gotta study this a little bit more?
Well, call me a crazy man, right? But really reading the Bible is really what drove me to a passion for it. And I say that because before crypto came out, the internet came out, and this is before I was aware of crypto, I should say. So this is 15, 20 years ago. Different forms of crypto had been in existence, but not as we know them today. And I remember when the internet first came out, I'm thinking to myself and really processing through the idea that if the book of Revelation is going to happen at some point in the future, right? A year, a decade, a millennia in the future, at some point, there has to be a few mechanisms in place for that to happen. One has to be, if there's a one world government and a one world currency, the one world government has to have the ability to instantaneously transmit data. And so really it was when I bought my first iPhone is the iPhone 3GS. So this was 5 or 6 ish. And so I bought the first iPhone, my first iPhone. I think it was a 5-ish, but 6 ish.
3,
But
yeah.
I
I think I had an iPhone 3.
6,
Was it like the
maybe 6 or
rounded one?
7. Yeah, they were kind of
Yeah.
rounded. They had the dome on the back, and my buddy Adam brings it to me. Where I remember, like it was yesterday. He brings it to me, and I'm used to playing Snake on a flip Nokia phone, right? And he's like, "Look at this phone." I'm like, "Listen, I don't even like." I had an Android fork. I'm like, "I hate that thing." And he
Yeah.
shows me this. He goes, "Look, no, it's YouTube." And he showed me a YouTube viral video. I'm like, "On your phone? I need one," you know.
Dude,
And so it changed. It changed our lives, all of our lives, right?
1000% addicted when I
Oh
saw
yeah.
a YouTube video on my phone.
Yeah, for sure.
Really?
For sure. And so we got I got my first smartphone, at that point, and I realized this is a necessary prerequisite for the end times to happen. There has to
Mm.
be the instantaneous transfer of information. This is it. And then I remember thinking, there's got to be for there to be a one world currency, there has to be a way that no nation can have it. And I had just presumed at that point for there to be a non-nation sovereignty. Well, then the nations get together and they say, this is our currency, the end. And then when I didn't really get this, and I'm late to the party, right? I'm way too late to the party. I got in crypto maybe 3-4 years ago. And I realized just in the last couple of years that, that decentralized currency, truly decentralized currency, is another prerequisite for there to be, of some form or fashion, is by definition the currency in the book of Revelation, right? If there's a one world currency, then that means by definition that no nation is sovereign of it. It's not a sovereign currency. Now, it might be a CBDC, but ultimately it's all of these nations together will have a currency. And so being a Bible believer, right? My undergrad's theology, like I read that thing a lot, and so I said, I realized this is the prerequisite. And I'm not saying it's this coin or that coin or whatever, but the technology behind it is in my opinion, a necessary prerequisite for the end of all things to happen. And so I've been excited, right? Like I'm like, this is great. At a minimum, we're at the precursors of these incredible technologies that we know at some point, a day, week, decade, millennia down the road, will be a precursor for this one world currency. As a Bible believer, that's my theology where it leads me.
That's amazing. That is amazing. And I hear you 1000%. So when we're talking about, Bitcoin and, I gotta say I'm and maybe we'll get into this in the next segment, I think a little bit more, but, I'm thinking, what have I invested in? Well, stocks, right? I will, Mr. Saldana of White Husky Films, he is, it's so funny to hear him talk about this stuff. Like he's like, well, the earnings report came out and, and he's super excited about that. And he's like, I'm going to short, I'm shorting, I don't know, I'm shorting Microsoft. I'm going to short them. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm shorting those suckers.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, I've done stocks before. I've done stocks before. How ridiculous does that sound? And this is my show. Hey, work your career Wednesday. I've invested in stocks my whole life, honestly. I remember back in the day, my family was really hot on penny stocks.
Mm.
Oh
Pink
my
sheets.
gosh. I will never forget it. We had stock. We were shareholders in Telefono de Mexico. And it was, when you go to Mexico and you use the card, right? It was like a payphone. So when you go to Mexico, there's kiosks, right? And there were these giant phones, and you used a card like international calling.
Okay.
And you would, stick it in there, and it would. So I remember I was down in Puerto Vallarta in the late 90s, like I don't know, 98 or 98, and there it was, Telefonos de Mexico, And I'm like, I have stock in that company. You know what I'm
There
saying?
you go.
And then there was another one, Pizza Now. So the idea is to get in big and then get out bigger. Anyway, we got into that. But like I said, like through my whole life when I was a kid, that was really fun because, it
Mhm.
wasn't a whole lot of money. It's not like I could break the bank here, if I lost any money, but it was fun to be able to invest as a kid. And it got into stocks a little bit later and then, heavier, mostly in tech stocks, but like with Oracle, I had some Apple at the time. Anyway, and then bullion was a big one for me. I
Mm,
I
love
just
bullion.
love it. Well, and pawn shop owner, you would, I mean, it's
Love it.
the whole thing, the whole world could collapse, but gold and silver will always have intrinsic value. But you have to be careful because in the barter system, it better have a mint mark of the United States government or Mexico or Canada or the UK, because people are going to be suspect of just a silver round. So it's very word to the wise,
Yeah.
by the way. Um, but and I've told you this before, and I'm going on a little bit long, but there's a point. So we got to Houston. I was at an HEB with Erica, and there was a guy with a black shirt. I'll never forget it as long as I live. Black t-shirt. He was in the produce section. I'm pretty sure he was buying tomatoes, and it said, I can't remember what it said on Friday, but I think it said, curious about a Bitcoin symbol, and then it had a question mark, and then it said, ask me
Mm.
how, or ask me, or something like that. So, being the smart aleck that I usually am, and, I got something on you kids, I went up to him, I said, I'm curious about Bitcoin. And he's like, what? I said, your shirt. I'm curious. What. So he goes to try to explain it to me. And here I am. I'm like, it's like, the peanuts,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and so I just said, man, I'm not sure. I mean, he gave me his card, he gave me his number. He's like, you got to get into this right now. Da 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 da. And I'm like, I don't know. You know what I mean? I can't hold it. I can't see it. I don't know. And then I'm like, am I contributing to, uh future events? So for someone like me who I believe next year I will be buying Bitcoin at whatever price it is. Whatever price, I don't care. What doesn't matter. But what was it today? 43,000 a Bitcoin. Even back in 2015, 2016, it was only like what, $80, something like that, or I don't know, it was pretty low.
Yeah. About I think 2014, it was in the hundred and something dollar range. Yeah.
100 and something dollars. Okay. So I feel like we're a little late to the game. Like I'm putting myself with everyone else that hasn't gotten into Bitcoin and crypto yet. We're late to the game. You are making a killing on crypto. You are like, I mean, really, it is impressive.
I
So for
wouldn't say
all of
we're
us,
coming out of a bear market, so I'm in the
hey
bear
man,
market hitting. So
brother,
hopefully in 2 years we'll be singing. Yes, we're making a killing, but right now we're paying the bills.
okay, paying the bills, whatever. You're doing it with crypto. The point is that you're doing great. You're doing great. So, and I get where you're coming from on that. I totally get it. The point is though, you're making and paying the bills with far more than I have. So for those of us that are late in the game, maybe first go over sort of an overview of what crypto actually is, and then what can we do to get in on this incredible, what's turned out to be absolutely incredible, way to make money.
I'll say this as a first step and a word of encouragement is the global adoption rate right now is still less than 1%. So it's still, while I feel like I'm
Really?
late to it, yeah, like if you look at the internet was invented like in the 80s, but it didn't really have the .com boom, if you will, till 2000-ish. And if you look at like Bitcoin, for example, I believe it's, invented '09, it goes live in 2009. So yeah, we're 14 years in, but the global adoption rate and the global usage growth rate is the equivalent of the internet in like 97. And 97 is when people were saying, oh, I don't need an email, I'll just send a fax. Oh, I don't need the internet's going to die out. Nobody ever has a need for that. Why would I need that when I can just send snail mail? Right. And so now we look back at those comments and we laugh. But if you look at the global adoption rate, no, the total overall global adoption and the global adoption rate of increase, it is literally like getting into the internet before the .com boom. And then the .com boom happens, right? And everybody says, see, I told you tech was worthless. The internet's going away. There's no value to a website. Well, there were things that were overvalued, but if you look now, like if you would have invested at the top of the .com boom in any company that's alive today, many millions of dollars, right? I mean, the ROI from those companies at the peak, oh, it collapsed at the peak of that thing before it collapsed. And Google at the time, what did it, hit a few scores of dollars. Now, however many stock splits and much profit would you have on Google or Microsoft or any of those things from, over a decade ago. I mean, the upside is still insanely high and advantageous for the average person.
Look at Netscape. Do you even remember what Netscape was?
I do.
You know what I mean?
I remember Netscape
and
my dial-up modem. Yeah.
The little N, and then it had the stars going around it. I remember,
Mm-hmm.
filling positions with them, and they were supposed to be there were people, like when Google first happened.
Yep.
Nobody, I mean, here, let me backtrack. The internet, I remember in high school, it was a phone book, and
Right.
nobody had it. Like nobody. I think there was one computer in my high school that had internet access. Nobody knew what it was. It was literally a phone book.
Yeah.
And then we moved forward, and you got the Netscapes of the world, and they were supposed to be the biggest thing that ever happened. I remember recruiting for them and then recruiting out of people. But
yeah,
with Google, nobody liked Google because it was so plain.
yes,
Right? There was
yep.
no sex appeal to it. It was just a white screen, type in your search, and there you go. So everybody
And
discounted it. And
yes.
I remember there was a guy that I knew years ago, and he said, "Have you heard of this thing called Google?" And I said, yeah, I mean, it's the search engine. He goes, no. He said, this is going to be the biggest thing because it goes everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's encouraging, actually. Thank you for saying that, because I really do. I feel like I'm late to the game,
Well, let me give you a cheat code. If I can give you a cheat code, this is just super easy cheat code.
Okay.
There's when people look at crypto, they look at the entire ecosystem. Like even the word crypto, it's got, you've got these things that are fraught with fraud and these exchanges collapsing and SBF, that turd, and you've got all these wild things. And you've got regulations, and they're worried about this and how the on and off ramps, and there's a lot of lingo, and there's a lot of uncertainty and doubt that's been thrown on the ecosystem. As a cheat code, there's only two cryptos in existence that I will tangle with at any scale or volume or any substance of my net worth in any capacity. And that's Bitcoin and Litecoin. And the reason for that is all other cryptos are either an unregistered security. And so you've got the risk of it's a good company or a bad company, or the company went under, or something like that, or it's a really neat technology that might get adopted and be this global massive powerhouse or might not. But those are risks that are fraught with fraud. There's human error. There's problems with them. There's problems with regulation, those sorts of things. The only two cryptos on the planet that don't have that are Bitcoin and Litecoin. So when you buy Bitcoin and Litecoin, it is not crypto. Bitcoin and Litecoin are the only truly decentralized coins that are backed with something. Specifically, they're backed with electrical power, electrical energy. Like, I'm a miner, so our computers spend electricity and have a cost of goods sold in order to produce Litecoin that is then sent. It's a mechanism for taking the excess electrical capacity of a grid, converting it into a monetizable figure that our human minds can wrap around. Instead of just a bunch of bits, a bunch of pieces of data, we can wrap it around this part of the internet that we call a coin, a Litecoin or a Bitcoin, and then send the value of our fossil fuels, our electrical infrastructure, our value that we put into there, and sell it globally, internationally, instantaneously for, in most cases, pennies. And so that mechanism is what only Bitcoin and Litecoin offer. No other crypto on the planet offers it in a secure way. And that's because the proof of work mechanism. And the reason I say no other crypto, there are other cryptos that have tried and that are active and that are great cryptos that do proof of work. But the amount of electrical infrastructure that it takes to be able to build that ecosystem is still in such its infancy that you have the risk of bad actors. I'm thinking governments, right? Bad actors, governments, multimillionaires that can come in and buy it up, and they can buy it up and change that whole crypto and steal it from you. It's called a 51% attack, meaning if you own 51% of that network, you can make those computers say whatever you want. But only Bitcoin and Litecoin are so large that truly, including government takeovers, like the United States of America doesn't have enough electrical infrastructure to take over Bitcoin. It just doesn't have the infrastructure because Bitcoin has too many megawatts devoted to it. And Litecoin would be like the 6th largest country on the planet in terms of megawatts consumed. So you can't have a sovereign entity take it over, because we saw what happens when you try, right? China outlawed it. In 90 days, every computer that was deployed in China was still deployed, but now is globally, because they'll go to Finland. They went to Turkmenistan. They went to Uzbekistan, like countries I'd never heard of. And I watched the hash rate jump, the amount of computers in that country jump up. And so there is a gamble, right? There's 1,000 new cryptos a day are being invented today. It takes all of 10 minutes for you to make your own, we'll call them poop coins, right? You can make your own poop coin in 10 minutes. And, but the only real crypto in my mind is Bitcoin, Litecoin. And those are the only two that are programmatically, mathematically designed to go up. So
the biggest thing, the biggest thing that was a hindrance for me, and I already know what you're going to say when I say it, so I'm just going to say it, is that what's it backed by? It's not backed by anything. And you can say, well, the dollar isn't backed by anything either. It's not backed by gold. It's not backed by silver. It's because it's the world currency. Everybody trades in the dollar. What you're telling me is that Bitcoin and Litecoin are backed.
They are not only
by electricity. Is that what you're saying?
They're not 100%. They're not just backed by electricity, but it's the exact mechanism that Nikola Tesla predicted would happen. He says, one day everybody's going to have these tiny devices in their hands. They'll all be interconnected, and you'll be able to communicate face-to-face on a screen. And there will be money, electricity converted to money that'll be able to be sent globally. This is like 150 years ago. This dude is saying these things are going to happen. And this is finally happening. And we are just a decade in to the most significant financial revolution that the world has seen since, I would imagine, the last 900 years, since the first idea of there being a bank governing a thing, right? So I think what the first banks are 900 years old, 600 years old. So since then, this technology is as revolutionary to money as the printing press was to data. So in my mind, it's one of the top 5 inventions in the history of humanity, right? You've got the wheel, you've got the car, you've got and I would leave the airplane off the list. You've got
internal combustion engine.
Yeah, internal combustion engine, sure. So the predecessor for the car, if you will. So you've got the internal combustion engine, you got the printing press, and we live in a time where 2 of these top 5 or 10 or however many, however you like to classify them in your mind, 2 of these top world-shattering technologies have been invented in our lifetime. One is the internet, and it's so worth-shattering that you and I, to your point, right? You're like, well, when I was in high school, there was a yellow book and there was the yellow pages, and that was how we communicate. And it's a whole nother. Our lives are so radically transformed from the internet that we can't really wrap our mind around what it would be like before that. And in the same way, that is what Bitcoin and Litecoin alone have and are and will continue to do in the future to currency.
Wow. Okay, incredible. Look, we're going to take a break real quick. Stick right with us. I don't know about you guys, but I am floored. So we're going to get into this a little bit more. Stick with us. We will be right back with Nathan Poole.
White Husky Films. Dream, create, record. We create ads and promos for your business. We can promote your video on television, Facebook, YouTube, Hulu, and more. We do a full Google SEO analysis for you with any plan. Call us today at 305-744-1444 or visit our website at whitehuskyfilms.com. White Husky Films. You'll be glad you did.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. We're here with Nathan Poole. My goodness. Revelation after, we're talking about revelation. Revelation after revelation. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. So we're talking about the biggest misconception. Okay. And we were talking a little bit about this during the break, and I want you to recap. You can repeat all that stuff. Probably should just come back in from there. But the biggest misconception that people have is, particularly with folks like me, very traditional investors, stocks, gold, silver, safe, hedging. The reason you do bullion is to hedge against inflation.
Of course.
Biggest misconception. I'm literally learning this today. Bitcoin and Litecoin, which, by the way, when you were talking in the break or in the last segment, I looked up what the price is on Litecoin. Incredibly affordable. About $72 a coin.
Yep.
Put that in perspective. $72, that would be 1 5-ounce, I guess, give or take 5 ounces of silver.
Okay.
But I don't know what silver is today. I think it's what, 23, 24. And this is, let's just say it, this is the 11th of December. Ounces. Yeah. Yep. Incredibly affordable to get in. But again, I keep repeating myself. The biggest misconception for folks like me is that it's not backed by anything. It's another currency. And I think people that have tried to explain Bitcoin have done a really poor job of it.
Oh, yeah.
Because, that's the thing. Well, the argument, the comeback to what I said is, well, neither is the dollar. Neither is this. We got China, Russia. I think, I'm not sure if it's India. They're going on the gold standard, with BRICS. and everything else. If people understand what BRICS is, please look it up. It could be a big problem, especially for us. What you're saying is it is backed by electricity.
And not only that, but every 4 years, the amount of electricity to produce one of those coins doubles.
Okay, so let's start from the beginning. How in the world is this backed by? When we think of electricity, we think of it as we pay our bill, and the power company somewhere, and that's the biggest thing with electric cars. It's like, are you kidding me? In order to have an electric car, our infrastructure for that, it cannot sustain that.
It can't sustain it, no.
So what you're saying, and I'm trying to wrap my mind around it. So you got a power plant producing electricity.
Yes.
There is a certain amount of energy given to make a coin.
Correct.
Coin.
If you will, yes.
If you will. So based on the strength of that industry or that power plant or whatever,
correct,
it's backed by electricity.
Yes.
Okay, so and I don't want to get off on this, but then the argument then would be, well, what if a solar flare? What if this? What if that? You know what I mean? But the bottom line is, and I want to get this crystal clear for the audience, and then I am going to shut up and let you answer this question and keep going.
No, I love the dialogue. Yeah, happy to.
Okay, but because this really, my audience needs to know what this is, like once and for all, what this is. It is absolutely backed by electricity. There's a commodity.
Correct.
A commodity that backs this currency. Wow, I've never heard that before. Go. What is this stuff?
Well, and another way to look at it too, if you looked at it like a stock, which it's extremely much not a stock, but if you looked at it like a stock in terms of a price of a stock, imagine a reverse merger guaranteed every 4 years. So every 4 years, the price of producing one doubles. But what that means is like right now, a Bitcoin, the global average to produce a Bitcoin in terms of electricity, global average in US dollars is like $28,000 per. So there's a floor. It costs $28,000 per Bitcoin to produce them. Right now they're for 44. So you can say from a global average, you're at roughly whatever it is, 35% profit margin. There's a floor on Litecoin, right? Like we're Litecoin mine. We have Bitcoin miners too, but we're Litecoin mine primarily. And like the cost of goods sold for Litecoin is like $40. So it costs you $40 in electricity to produce something that's $72, and you have a 50% profit margin or 80% profit margin, whatever those, and it fluctuates daily with volatility. But people confuse volatility with risk, and those two things are not the same. If you look literally 3 years ago, March 2020, the entire S&P collapses, 85%, whatever silly, ridiculous percentage it was.
Yeah.
And then it catches right back up to new all-time highs within 2 years. Volatility doesn't mean, oh no, the S&P's collapsed. We need to pull all of our money out and hold it in cash or hold it in whatever. It might mean hold it in gold or silver. In my case, it might mean hold it in Bitcoin, Litecoin. But it doesn't mean necessarily you want to stop investing in an index fund. It means volatility was disconnected from risk. And in the same way, with a guaranteed halving every 4 years, meaning every 4 years, the floor basement cost of Bitcoin and Litecoin doubles. That means that it's 10 or 12 years from now, the entire globe will have at that time probably over 100,000 megawatts of electricity trying to produce a single Bitcoin a year. And 16 years from now, the same thing will be true of Litecoin. All of these, at that point, it'll probably be whatever, thousands of megawatts. Right now, the global Litecoin network is like 450 megawatts. So it would make it sixth or seventh biggest country in the world. Like, the amount of power to back these things means that there's a new floor every 4 years. So imagine, it's almost like if you're gambling on something and, you know, you're buying a tech stock in the 2000s, I would want to buy in 1996. I would want to buy one that has zero risk of human malfeasancy, if you will. So you can't corrupt it, you can't change it, you can't have a bad CEO, you can't have the fraud, none of those things are possible because it's encrypted in a blockchain. And now I'm not talking the exchanges, I'm not talking the people that hold them. I'm saying if you buy this coin, you put it on a wallet, it removes human risk from it, except for your own human error, which you would have, like if you're wiring money to somewhere and you wire it to the wrong number, well, that's kind of your fault, right? So it removes the human equation, and it's got a reverse stock split and a guaranteed doubling of the cost to produce that stock every 4 years. To me, it's the most lopsided risk reward ratio on the planet in terms of your standard quote unquote stock market. So volatility doesn't equal risk any more than an index fund in 2000 meant risk. You're an index fund, you're betting on the US economy. I tend to think the US economy as a whole is not about to do so hot. Gold and silver, physical bullion is probably a really great hedge against that. And another thing is Bitcoin, Litecoin. Why wouldn't, but another beautiful thing is, as the world goes to, if you will, hell in a handbasket, right? Pardon the French, but as the world goes to hell in a handbasket, if you have X amount of coins of gold and you want to go to the airport and you want to get out of town, or you get pulled over on the side of the highway trying to go to wherever, the moment a cop sees a big wad of cash or rolls of gold and silver bullion, it's illegal. They shouldn't do it, but they're gonna take it. You know, if somebody pulls you over and you got $1 million in your trunk, they're gonna take it. They're gonna say it's probably drug money, whatever. They're gonna steal it from you. Good luck taking my flash disk, because you can take my flash disk. I got the words memorized in my head, and you can take that and do as you see fit with it. I'll go buy a new one for $50, and I will regain the sovereignty of you. It's the only currency that you can hold literally in your mind by memorizing a few words. And there are people that write songs, right? They'll get their words, they'll write a song so they remember you can remember your money in your mind. Nobody can hold it up to you at gunpoint and force you to speak except, like if they're going to torture you, you got bigger problems, right? So like, it's the safest money it's the same thing. Like you said earlier, well, what about a solar flare? Well, if a solar flare goes off, the entire electric grid and all the internet goes down. We probably got bigger fish to fry than how did I hold my wealth, right? Like those are things where, hey, yeah, there's probably a place for gold and silver in the case of a huge EMP, like if you're talking like disaster prep scenario kind of stuff. But in terms of a safe currency that you can travel with and memorize to hold your own keys that nobody else can take from you, your own crypto in your mind on a cold wallet, to me, Bitcoin, Litecoin are unrivaled in terms of technological advances that are earth shattering.
Incredible. And people have to wrap their minds around it, because we're talking about, creating a coin. You're not really creating a coin. It's just what that share is worth. Wrong vernacular, but so people can understand it. You're not sharing anything, but it's what that particular price point is at. And so, okay. Incredible. I'm looking at Litecoin in the last hour. It's down 48 cents, 71.94. Incredibly. If I should have invested when I heard about Bitcoin. I mean, there's people that have, when it was like $3, and nobody wanted to invest in it because, I would say now is the time to invest in Litecoin. And Bitcoin too, I guess, right? If you can, and you can buy fractional Bitcoin too. Is that correct?
Correct. And so another thing to consider is is because we're still so early, people see the price and they think, oh, a Bitcoin's 35 grand, I can't touch that. But when you look at the reality that in the future, I think there's something like whatever it is, 30 million. There's some. You feel free to correct me. We'll Google it later. But I think there's like 30 million millionaires on the planet, give or take, right, in terms of U.S. dollars. Yeah. And all of them together couldn't. Each one of them, if each one wanted to hold a single Bitcoin, they couldn't. If all of their net worth was poured into Bitcoin, they couldn't hold a single Bitcoin because it's truly limited supply. And in the same way, if all of the millionaires in the world wanted to hold 4 Litecoin, they couldn't. They couldn't do it. There's not enough. So if you start viewing your wealth not in terms of how much US dollars you have, but rather how many Bitcoin or fractions of a Bitcoin you have, like we think it's early or we think it's late because, oh, well, Bitcoin's already, $44,000 a piece. Well, you wouldn't say that if you knew what the future price of Bitcoin would be. Because let's say Bitcoin goes to $300 million, you say, oh, wow, I wish I would have bought it when it was only, $44,000. And in the same way, and the same thing with Litecoin, like, oh man, I remember Litecoin was $72. And I were back, remember when it was less than 100 grand. People are going to be saying these things in the same way that 10 years ago, the first Bitcoin transaction was 2 pizzas for 10,000 Bitcoin. Right, this is hundreds of millions of dollars a day. 2 pizzas for hundreds of Bitcoin. For 10,000 Bitcoin. Yeah, the Bitcoin pizza store. There's a whole day celebrating it. So don't get swept away with the idea that a Bitcoin is 44 grand. Get swept away with the fact that the tech will force those 2 coins and only those 2 over the long run to be massively performing. The number 1 highest performing asset over the last 10 years is Bitcoin, and the number 2 is Litecoin.
So with Litecoin, being so affordable, and you're saying that there will never be another coin, quote unquote, produced. It is what it is. What do you say? Like 83 million? Is that right?
84 million. 84 million, 4 times the supply of Bitcoin. 21 million for Bitcoin.
Wait a minute. Litecoin is 84 million?
Yep, 84 million.
Okay, and Bitcoin is how many?
21 million.
So they're all bought.
No.
Correct?
So so some of them are still being mined. And so that's what we're doing now. We're mining Litecoin, meaning there's an amount of supply that still has to be released before it reaches 84 million. Once it reaches 84 million, then they will all have been bought or lost, right? But until then, there's another like 5% or so of Litecoin, 5, 6, 7% of Litecoin left to be produced from mining. And then there's another, whatever it is, 3% to be produced from Bitcoin. But almost all of them have been bought, yes.
So then how do people buy it then? Like if there's nothing more to buy, then how do they buy it?
Well, the same way that they would on a stock market. So a company on a stock might say, hey, all right, we're issuing 200,000 shares. The difference is a stock, if it gets really valuable, the deciding factors, the board can say we want to merge, reverse split, or we want to split the stock, make it more attractive for or we want to do a dividend, or the company goes bankrupt. The board that governs a company and a stock can change the total issuance. There is no board for Bitcoin and Litecoin, which is why when people are talking, the feds, right, when they get to talking about, Senator Warren said something this week. She's talking to Jamie Dimon, the CEO of
JP Morgan.
JP Morgan, thank you. The CEO of JP Morgan, they get to talking, and they're like, oh, if it was up to us, we just outlaw the whole thing. We need to outlaw it. Good luck. Where are you going to find the CEO of Bitcoin? Where are you going to find the board of directors for Litecoin? There's no such thing. There's no such thing. So you can't shut them down. It can't go away. So as long as any human on the planet believes that that one of them at some point is going to be worth tens of millions of dollars per, that's the direction we're heading, right? If all of the world's, if hundreds of thousands of megawatt of power are going to be directed to mine one Bitcoin, that they're saying everybody that's mining it, there's millions of people globally doing this, that they're saying, we agree, this is worth millions of dollars each one day. So good luck trying to buy it out of their hands, right? And these ETFs are about to launch. Have you looked into the ETFs? Have you seen what they're doing?
What's that?
Oh, so the 12 big, like these, I think it's up to 14 now, 12 or 14 of these hedge funds are all applying for a Bitcoin ETF, because right now they can't make money on it. So they're not marketing it to you. They're not telling you, go buy Bitcoin. But the BlackRock, who owns like, what's it, like 90% of the S&P 500, right? They're just the biggest hedge fund globally, right? So they're about to launch an ETF here in the next few months. And when it does, they're talking $400 billion going into Bitcoin. Just that alone pumps the price to over $1 million. I mean, and you've got 12 of these hedge funds that are about to, Qatar, the country, is about to pump 400 billion into it. So like you see the moves, the writings on the wall. I think we're looking at 7 and 8 figure Bitcoin in the next top 6 years. And I think we're looking at 4, 5, and then 6 figure Litecoin in the next 6 to 10 years.
Have them in Texas, I don't think, but Bitcoin ATMs. Have you seen those?
Oh yeah. They're all over the place. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, incredible. Okay, so the price point for Bitcoin for most people is, I mean, a dollar's still a dollar. You know what I mean? You either have it or you don't.
It's $1.
And
so buy a dollar's worth.
44 grand. Well, that's what I was going to ask is, can you buy like a dollar's worth of Bitcoin, and then what kind of dividend would that produce for you?
Absolutely. And again, nobody knows in the short term. Volatility happens, right? You buy it at 44 grand, it goes down to 34 grand. Well,
sure. And to be clear, real quick, we're not giving financial advice, but this is
correct.
Some things that you're doing that you're finding a lot of success with. Contact and consult your financial advisor, before making any move with your money. This is, so important for people, to wrap their minds around this, around finance in and of itself, but particularly around this, because the amount of money that can go into a community, that can go into, say someone's, I don't know, someone's education, whatever. These are some things. For example, I would highly suggest people get involved with gold and silver to hedge against inflation. I've done it. It's worked for me. This is what you're doing, but it's so misunderstood. That's why this conversation is so important. So can someone buy a dollar's worth of Bitcoin? And, how would they do it? Would they do it through you? Miniminds.com?
Oh, no.
Or how would you do that?
We're not an exchange. And to be clear, like I don't have a dog in the fight from anything that we've just said, right? Like if you buy Bitcoin, Litecoin, I don't make a buck. I don't lose a buck. It doesn't impact me at all. Right. So like this is just data that I'm providing here. This is just hopefully helpful to your listeners.
1,000%.
But this is, but yeah, if you go buy a dollar, right? Let's say you buy, let's say $100. You go buy $100 with a coin for a $44,000 Bitcoin. If Bitcoin goes to $88,000, now your $100 went to $200. If it goes to $34, your $100 went to $65 or whatever the math is, right? So it goes up and down based on the percentage because you own that fraction of a coin. Same thing with Litecoin. I do think that there's if you're going to buy and hold for the long term, I think that Litecoin is the way to go.
Okay.
Because you're higher upside.
Okay. So put it in bullion terms, bullion is a long-term play. You're saying Litecoin the same way is a long-term play. So the same way you would buy 5 ounces of silver or, I don't know, if you're going to spend $200 on a 1/10 of an ounce of gold, you would want to hold that to hedge against whatever's going to come at you next. Right. I'm trying to explain it so people understand it. So you're saying if it were you, let's just say you're advising me because you're advising me to look into Litecoin and hold it for the long term. What does that mean? 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, what?
So I would, if you're asking me, I would probably balance the two. I think that Bitcoin will probably, again, this is total conjecture now, over the coming 2 years, I think that Bitcoin will go up higher first, but Litecoin will go up higher by far in terms of percentage, right? Like I think that Bitcoin, I think in the near term, Bitcoin is going to go to $700,000. And I think that Litecoin is going to go to, I don't know, call it $9,000. My gut would be, if you put a gun to my head and said, hey, pick one, I would say $9,000 in the terms of the next 2 years, which means if Bitcoin goes from, call it $50,000 to $700,000, now you got a 14x, you got a 1,400 times ROI over the 2 years, whereas Litecoin would be going from 75 to 9,000. Now you've got well more than a 14x, right? So you got a 100 plus x. So I think that the ROI on Litecoin is going to be higher in the coming 2 years. Yeah.
So now Litecoin and Bitcoin are based on the same, they're backed by the same thing, electricity.
Same electricity, correct.
Why is it that Litecoin is so much cheaper? Is it because not as many people know about it? Is it because they I don't know. Why is Litecoin $71 and Bitcoin almost $50,000 a share?
I think there's there's a handful of major components. One is Bitcoin is first, right? It's really tough to beat first. When you're first, Bitcoin was 2019, Litecoin was 2011. I'm sorry, 2009 and 2011 respectively. So it's 2 years older. Bitcoin is 2 years older. That's a big deal. Also, the original, and I think that this is a detriment to Bitcoin, the original inventor was this pseudonymous name of Satoshi Nakamoto, right? Who's this guy that invented it. It's a pseudonym, right? We don't know who this person really is. But Satoshi invented it and still holds like 10% of the global supply of Bitcoin in a wallet that hasn't moved in like a decade. So while that provided a base layer where he's taking thousands of coins out of circulation in the very early years, Litecoin's creator sold his within a few years. Litecoin's creator works behind the scenes at a nonprofit to help grow Litecoin as a network. And so you've got this tech where the base of that first, what now today would be hundreds of billions of dollars, that $100 billion base was eradicated of the wealth of Litecoin. So it's going to be slower. It's going to be slower going up. So I think those are the two primary disadvantages in terms of price, but the actual tech of Litecoin is better. It's faster. It's cheaper. It's more profitable to mine. It allows you to use it more as a currency. So I foresee a day where, a Bitcoin might be worth $10 million, but you might have to spend 10% in fees to be able to move it. So you got a half a Bitcoin and it's worth $2 million, but you might have to spend $200,000 of it to move it. Litecoin, it right now rounds up to a penny to send it. So Litecoin, in my opinion, is a far better tech. It's designed to be currency, whereas Bitcoin's primarily probably a store of wealth. So that's kind of how I look at it. I look at it like a savings account and a checking account. I look at it as gold and silver, which is what the inventor of Litecoin said. Hey, this is the silver to Bitcoin's gold. So I think that that's really what it boils down to.
I am just blown away. Guys, we're going to take one more break. We're going to hear more from Nathan Poole. I got to tell you, I am just, you have to come back on the show, but we'll talk about that. This is incredible. Stay with us. We are going to have much more to come. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hey, everybody. Wanted to come on and tell you a story. It's a little personal. I've been in a couple accidents that were pretty severe. Rear-ended. At one, I was on the freeway, did a 360. It injured me pretty badly in 3 parts of my back, my hips, and my left leg. On those accidents, on the first one, I didn't get any physical therapy. On the second one, I did. But there's injuries still there. And then when I was a traveling working musician, my shows were pretty lively, and I would re-injure myself, so I would lay on ice. when, after a show before I could meet anybody. That said, the physical therapy really helped me. It helped me get back to performing. It helped me walk again. In late 2020, I injured my back again and could hardly walk. Getting from my house to the car was a problem. I can't imagine what it would be like if I was homebound, okay? Like, let's say I had a surgery and I couldn't get to the physical therapist. It would be a severe problem. Let me tell you something. Jane's Physical Therapy is almost enough for me to move to New Orleans, okay? They are specialists in-home healthcare, covering New Orleans, North Shore, and they're amazing. Casey James, the managing director of Jane's Physical Therapy, he's incredible. Second to none. We've gotten a chance to meet him and to really talk with him, fellowship with him. He is awesome, and his physical therapists are specialists. They are awesome, incredibly amazing. Look, there's a process on how you would work with him, but I'm telling you, go onto LinkedIn. Okay, here's the deal. They're looking for two more physical therapists in the New Orleans area. Go on to LinkedIn, okay? Connect with him there. You can even go to his LinkedIn page on LinkedIn. Casey James, CASEY, Connect with him there. Send him your resume. The website will be up soon, so you'll be able to send resumes there. Or you can even send them to me. Go onto my LinkedIn page and shoot me a message, and we'll even set up a conversation. But I'm telling you, it's an amazing opportunity. The money's great, and working with Casey is really incredible. Okay, he's got a really great network, and a wonderful staff of physical therapists that contract really all over. But for these positions, we're looking in New Orleans and in the North Shore area. I'm still familiarizing myself with Louisiana, but I tell you, you want to go to Jane's Physical Therapy, JAYNES. As soon as the website's up, we'll let you know. Go onto LinkedIn, in the search tab, type in JAYNES Physical Therapy and connect with him. Follow his page. You will be so glad you did. All right. So I hope it's not too long, but let's get on with the show. Welcome back. This has been an incredibly impactful. I don't even know how long we've gone, but I have your commitment. I do have your commitment, Nathan, that you're going to come back in January.
Happy to. Yes, sir.
Awesome. So look for it. We'll probably air we'll air your January show in probably the third week of January. And then this one, today, December 20th, we're filming it before. I'm blown away, Nathan, honestly. Now, your website is miniminds.com. There's a couple things I want to ask. MINIMINES.com. We're going to have the link to your website in the description of the show. I encourage everyone within the sound of my voice, with the how would we say it, within the sight of my face.
There you
go. To log on to miniminds.com. It is a wealth of information on there. You have I don't know, it's not a prospectus. What is it? It's anyway, there's so much stuff on there. I'm telling you, go on to miniminds.com. Now, you have a podcast called Mini Minds, right? Now it's devoted to crypto and
crypto mining. Yep.
Crypto and crypto mining. And so I'm so glad you said that. Real quick, and again, go on to YouTube. Now, are you on other streaming platforms? I've only seen you on YouTube.
We're on YouTube and Facebook and
YouTube.
Twitter.
Got it. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. I tell you what, the ones that I've seen are absolutely fantastic. Now, in your other podcast is Unbridled Faith. Incredible podcast. I would highly suggest you tune into that. Not for nothing, but yours truly is going to be on Unbridled Faith. So I'm very excited about that. But okay, mining. What is mining?
So to give, let me just give a summary in layman's terms, right? You'll hear people say things, you're solving complex mathematical equations and, blah, blah, blah. What it really is, we are the Western Union of crypto. We are the hardware behind the software called Litecoin or Bitcoin. So every software has to have a computer, a physical computer plant running it, right? You don't just, we go on Google, and because it's on our laptops, we think that it's ubiquitous. It's everywhere. It's in the ether. No, it's on it's literally on computers somewhere, most of the time in California or wherever, right? So
say that one more time. Your mic cut out. Go ahead just a little bit.
We're the hardware behind the software called cryptocurrency. So if you go on Google, you think that just, it's easy for me to think anyway, that, hey, I'm on Google, computer, it's on some big network together. No, there are hardware farms, server farms of data internationally that hold the data from Google, that allow you to access and transmit the the data from Google or any other website for that matter. All of the wealth of data on the internet is stored on a physical computer. Mining is the physical computers behind the network of cryptocurrency. So mining, we are the servers. They're anonymized, randomized, fully encrypted servers where I can't see a single transaction that comes through my mind, but millions a day are millions of transactions a day are going through the Litecoin network, Bitcoin network, and our mine is part of that. And so we're the computer farms behind the software that people call Bitcoin and Litecoin.
Can someone get into mining like at home? Is that something that you can do, or?
Yeah, that's actually how we started. We started mining at our house. After the third fire, my wife says, no, now go get a commercial spot. In my defense, I told her, if you keep plugging these computers in, you're going to start a fire. And
after the fire, the third fire.
Oh
my God. Well, you were burning up the space, my friend.
Burning them up. Well, at the time, computer, we were in a bull market. We're mining out of our house in the bull market. Every computer was making 200 something bucks a day. So I plugged the right amount in. We had upgraded our panels, upgraded the service, and I plugged the amount in. And my wife says, wait, they're making 200 something bucks a day. Plug in more. I go, no, you don't want to plug in more. You're going to start a fire. And she's like, just 3 more. And she's plugging them in the wall. Like,
just 3 more. Just 3 more.
Right. And but thankfully our system was far upgraded compared to the system at the street. So our system didn't blow up. I had overpowered it for the transformer at the street. So the transformer at the street blew up a few times. I took one really beautiful little video, singing "This Little Light of Mine" with it on fire. It was great. But but we're in a so after the third one, told my wife, she says, all right, let's get a commercial facility for this thing. So that's kind of how that happened. And okay, now we've got, 5 facilities.
So you'd have to have at least 2 computers networked with a very, very hefty, internet connection in order to do it. And then, don't catch your house on fire. Oh my God.
Correct. It's a lot of airflow, creates a lot of heat. If you live in a colder climate, it's probably a really great hobby to get into because
like
you get
North
paid.
Pole. You
get paid to heat your house. Yeah. 99% of the electricity is discharged as heat. So when you figure, we've got a 7.5 megawatt mine. We're about to close on an 8.5 megawatt mine. We got a 1 megawatt mine, a 4 megawatt mine. So we've got these mines. And when I talk in terms of megawatts, 1 megawatt is 220 tons of heat being discharged. So it's a lot of heat.
So really, you got to wrap your mind around, this is the modern day equivalent of, you know, I saw an old Bonanza episode, like from one of the first seasons, where they were like focused on mining, and think about it to where where they're laying the tracks, and you got the miners, and they're chiseling away. So I guess the computers would be the chiseler, anyway, the workers. And then think of it in that way. So you're mining, and what exactly is it again? You're scouring the internet, you're buying up the coins.
At a more technical level, there are groups of data, packets of data that are released periodically called blocks. And all of the global computers together are trying to solve these blocks. And whichever computer solves that block gets paid out in what's called a block reward. And the block reward gets, if you're in a pool, it gets split up amongst the miners as a relatively set amount of revenue every day.
Do you have to have an account to have this happen, or?
Yeah, you want an account. You have to have specialized mining computer, which you can get you can spend as little as $1,000 or as much as 15, right? So you have to have a specialized computer, and the computer does the work for you. You direct it to what to do, which is a relatively simple process, and then it produces a lot of heat for you and residual income.
Got it.
So,
talk about global warming.
Yeah, that's it. Well, the beautiful thing is it provides a base layer of usage to the electric grid. So to give you an idea, like if you're in a major metropolis area, like from the hours of, let's say, midnight to 4 a.m., the vast majority of the grid is unused. Miners provide a base layer of usage across the board 24/7 to allow more income to the electrical grid, so that way it can continue to upgrade, especially for metropolitan type areas.
And heaven forbid, you have a certain car that needs to be recharged every day.
Not going to happen the way they say.
Yeah, really not going to happen. Okay, so now that's the mining part of it, and there's going to be a lot of people watching this that are going to be ready to go invest and become a miner. Now, what if you just want to start buying this stuff? Like, what if, you have some money, you want to invest it, you want to see, now you're saying, again, real clear, Litecoin is the silver to Bitcoin's gold, quote, the inventor, right, or the creator, I guess, of Litecoin. Okay. So it's at a great price point. There's still more that are available to be bought, or they all bought?
Well, they're all available. You can, so anybody can download like an exchange, a Coinbase exchange, and buy them there.
So Coinbase is Coinbase good to do?
Well, there's always pros and cons. I don't have affiliation with any of them, so I don't necessarily want to say I recommend that company and then they go bankrupt or there's fraud or whatever. And well, that guy,
what are a few of them that you don't not necessarily recommend, but they're there?
Coinbase is one. It's one that we do use. I do use Coinbase. Kraken is another one. Kraken is another good one.
Okay.
Another one is KuCoin, KuCoin. That's another one. Those are some pretty popular exchanges that you can use. What I would recommend is you can even buy like a Ledger or a Trezor hard wallet. And most of the newer models will even allow you to purchase them directly into the wallet through a third party. So instead of going through exchange, it goes right to a cold wallet.
It goes right to it. What's a cold wallet?
Great question. So a cold wallet is the only way I would ever recommend storing crypto, or I should say storing Bitcoin and Litecoin. And what that is think of it as an exchange is a bank. And then a hot wallet, or a wallet that is an app on your phone, like Coinbase has Coinbase Exchange and they have Coinbase Wallet. A wallet is like a safety deposit box. Whereas as long as you didn't have gold and silver at the wrong time, most of the time safety deposit boxes are pretty safe. But if somebody messes up and sends the wrong email or they're hacked, now it goes away. And in exchange, it can go away. A cold wallet, when done properly, is like having a vault buried underneath your house that nobody can ever touch, even if they steal the cold wallet. It's a device. It's a physical device that creates an encrypted wallet for you, if you will. And I'm trying to blend the tech with modern vernacular. A modern reservoir on the blockchain saying, these are where my coins are stored. And the place where it's stored is converted into words called a seed phrase or a key phrase, 6, 12, 24 words, where you would then have these 12 words in order, and you would perfect world, there's a bunch of ways that are, really safe to do it. Never put it on your phone, right? You would write it down on a piece of paper, put it in safe, hide it. Ideally, you would memorize it and burn it. You and your wife would memorize it and burn it, whatever. Yeah. But that you would have these 12 words in order, and that the 12 words in order give you access to your coins. So if you lose the physical hardware piece of hardware, who cares? It's $50, $100. You throw it away, you go get a new one, and your words are the keys to your crypto. That is by far the safest way. It takes out the human error component. It takes out the fraud, embezzlement component. It takes all of that garbage out of the way, and it allows you to hold it in your virtual safety deposit box of your brain.
Brother, this is incredible. I'm on your LinkedIn. Was it what does it say? Quantum FinTech Group.
Looks no, like it might be a different guy, unless it's somebody scamming, pretending it's me. No, I don't have anything quantum on mine.
on your LinkedIn, you and your wife in front of
we went to in the photo. Yeah, we went to a Quantum Miami. Went to a Quantum Miami conference, and that's a photo where the backdrop is Quantum. Yeah,
so we got Kraken. And are all these places where you can buy, or you can create an account and buy crypto?
Yep, you can create an account on Kraken or Coinbase.
There's Giddy, Beefy, yep. Polygon, Avalanche, BNB Chain, Milo, Chainlink.
Most of those are cryptos. Most of those are wallets.
Okay, so Kraken is the one. That's a
Kraken or Coinbase or KuCoin are
Coinbase, and you said KuCoin?
KuCoin, yeah, KuCoin.
A KuCoin. Oh my God. You know what? I need a minute to decompress. You know what I mean? All the information.
I hear you. You know what's interesting? I'm data dumping on you.
Well, no. You know what's interesting is I think that I don't know, through a lot of how would you say vernacular, it becomes the meaning gets washed away in the acronym, but at the end of the day, what it is, it's a currency that is backed by a commodity that, in my view, is purposefully made more complicated in the telling than it is in the reality. And we're going to be talking offline about doing some stuff, because my friend, let me see, what do we got? We got a book on time tithing. Brother, I see you speaking, TED Talks or whatever, but my goodness, making crypto, maybe I shouldn't even say it on air, but the point is that there's going to be a lot more from Nathan Poole. And again, everyone, if you want to learn more, okay, go to YouTube. All right. Type in Mini Minds, listen to his podcast, watch his podcast, however you're going to consume it, watch it, listen, whatever it is, listen to it. I mean, religiously, if I may say, right? Do your devotionals in the morning, right? Or whenever you're going to do them, read your Bible, make that happen, and then listen to Nathan Poole's podcast right now. Everyone that's listening to me, go and subscribe, like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell to Nathan Poole's podcast, Mini Minds. Go to Unbridled Faith, and absolutely, while you're at it, go to his website, miniminds.com, MINIMINES. I have learned so much, like within however long this show is today. I've learned so much, and I know we're only
I'm glad.
the surface. Oh, we're only cracking the surface, man. And I got to tell you, and you've committed. I got your commitment. You're coming back.
I'm in
January. We'll see if we can make it a monthly thing, but for now, you're coming back in January. We got it. We have more to dig into, but I have to tell you, Nathan, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for your friendship. Thank you for coming on the podcast today for Work Your Career Wednesday. And thank you for being so open and really wanting as many of us as possible to live a financially free life. Thank you, Nathan. And I can't wait to have you back next month.
Pleasure was all mine. Thanks for having me.
All right. Until next time, remember this for everyone from Work Your Career Wednesday and White Husky Films. Remember, you know what I'm about to say. All right. That I love you. I love you so much. I hit the camera. I love you. God bless you, and let his face shine upon you and give you great peace. Be excellent to yourself and each other, and we will see you next week. All right? See you soon.
Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. Hey, if you like Work Your Career Wednesday and want to be notified every single time we have a new episode, like, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Smash it. Get a hammer and get it. And
Yeah, that's fine.
Too much?
No, that's fine.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I love it. People want.
Do you hear Steven in the background? I was just making sure I'm going to be okay. But get that notification going. And hey, we will be letting you know, or I guess YouTube will be letting you know, when the next Work Your Career Wednesday is on. So make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Man, ding it, ring it, sling it, and bang it. All right? And we will see you soon. Work Your Career Wednesday. Oh, great. I'm glad you stopped by. Be sure to get that subscription bell, and I'll see you there.